Oh yeah, it's a lot.
Trying to get elected.
Yeah.
Gotta be super friendly.
It pays.
I don't get paid.
Yeah.
I guess it'll pay off.
Yeah.
In terms of resume building for some people.
This is true. Yeah.
But for me, there's.
Yeah. That's true. Because what's the threshold? Is it 2% to get public funding?
There used to be two thresholds. It used to be 2% and 20%.
Yeah.
And it was if you get 2% of the vote, then you get 20% of your expenses back, and you get money per vote. And those parameters and those dynamics changed year after year after year,
Yeah.
but it's something like that. And then there was that's the little brother allowance, and then the big brother allowance was if you got 20% of the popular vote, then you get 50% of your expenses back, and you get money per vote.
Okay, yeah.
And
which is just a bit weird because like the parties that would already have more funding. Yeah,
that's how the Conservatives got 18 million for this election, and then they changed the law so that they can't do it anymore. So that this election, no one's going to get money.
Yeah.
So they've got 18 million. And the NDP had like 6 million, and the Conservatives had like 9.
Yeah.
So the Liberals. So the Conservatives had more money than the Liberals and the NDP together.
Yeah. Yeah, which seems like a bit. I know. Apparently in the UK, it's like everyone gets a set amount. Yeah. And that's it, and you are only allowed to play with that set amount.
I don't know. Like I run a campaign with no money. My budget is 0.
Yeah, so. And that's like a lot of the campaigns seem to be. Yeah, like Christian Heritage had a little bit, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, if you rely on money to run your campaign,
well, it's sort of
you're in a lot of trouble because they're going to use all their money against you.
I mean, it's a skill. You get the what do they call it? Like the guaranteed airtime as well on. Yeah. Has that happened yet?
It's happened. I didn't do it. I missed the deadline. I wasn't able to do the work. I've done it in the past.
Yeah.
But they also changed the rules and regulations for the free broadcast time.
Yeah.
In past, I would be able to go to a CBC studio. They would book me the time, and I could film it in studio, and they would broadcast it. But they changed the Election Act under the majority Conservative government. They said that CBC is providing you with a service. Yeah. So you got to produce everything on your own at their standard of broadcast and bring it to them. And I'm which is hard, which is not easy. Yeah. And it's going to cost money to do it professional broadcast. Yeah. However, with the internet, I can set up my camera and my tripod, do an interview with you.
And it's pretty much free, yeah.
And it is free, and it's under the Elections Act, it's guaranteed as no value because I'm doing it myself.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? Because they would say that, well, in order to produce something of equal value, we have to go with the full commercial rate. And even though you produced it yourself, it's $1,000 a minute, and then you got to account for that in your campaign. And I don't have the money, so then they would say,
"Oh, okay, yeah."
Like I have expenses, but I don't have receipts.
Yeah. Even though you'd be billing yourself
for nothing.
Yeah.
For nothing.
Yeah. Because you write an invoice to yourself and get it.
So now they say that we can use the internet without expense or fee or anything. And they're doing a bad job at it, and people have been asking me to do stuff like this, so thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure,
So here we go.
Okay, yeah, so I think this jack is a little finicky, so I might just... That seems okay. Yep, we'll go with that. So, first question, someone is walking in to vote, they see your name. Oh, actually, no, first I'll get you to introduce yourself just so I have the pronunciation correct and your preferred, the way you want to be introduced.
Yeah, I'm John Akpata. I'm a member of the Marijuana Party. I'm running for Ottawa Centre 2015.
Great. So, voter goes in to vote, see in the Ottawa Centre, sees your name and Marijuana Party on the ballot. What do you want them to know?
My name will be the first name on the ballot. It'll be right on top. And I'm using my full name, John Andrew Omowale Akpata. So it'll be nice and big and thick, and I think it'll take up the most amount of space on the ballot, and it'll be right on top. And everybody else will be underneath me, and that's the way it is. What do I want them to think? Well, I want them to know, like, marijuana is just a simple issue that shows to you that the government does not listen to science, facts, data, evidence, the will of the people, popular ideas, modern practices. They don't listen to their own court system. They don't listen to their own Health Canada system. They're doing everything the opposite of what the public wants, and they're wasting $7 billion on marijuana prohibition. That's police enforcement and all their use in court and all their jail time. It costs $125,000 per year for the taxpayer to put a person in jail, to put a man in jail. No, sorry, it's $150,000 per year to put a man in prison. It costs $250,000 per year to put a woman in prison. So people don't want to put members of the public in prison for growing plants. So that needs to stop. That needs to change. And there's people in jail that need to get out. That needs to stop. That needs to change. We spend $7 billion on a failed policy. We don't have pennies in this country anymore, but we still got the old marijuana laws for the old stock Canadians, I guess. And modern science and modern facts and your smartphone can prove to you that cannabis is a medicine. In 2012, the National Cancer Institute in the United States said that it does cure cancer. These studies have been done in dozens of different countries in the world. I think there's 14 states in America that have medicinal marijuana, and it might go up to as many as 22. And there's 4 states that now have recreational marijuana, so Oregon, Colorado, Washington, and Ohio. So
I believe it's Alaska.
Oh, right, yeah. Alaska, sorry. What did I say? So Alaska, Oregon, Washington, and now Ohio is going to be the 4th. Okay. So, they have recreational, like Spain and Portugal have legalized, the drug use goes down, the crime rate goes down, and still they have this old-fashioned law that's not true, and we waste $7 billion a year on that. The police should be looking for people that go missing. They should be going after gun crime, human trafficking, and child pornography, which are the 3 sectors of crime that are increasing. Do that. And the police will do what we tell them. If we tell the police, no more pot, no more plants, this is what you're going to do, they'll do push-ups in the morning and they'll go do it.
So what have we seen police doing with regards to marijuana laws in the last few years, especially since the hardcore majority?
In the last few years, the police have kind of changed their tune, but altered the tempo as well. They're saying, well, it shouldn't be criminal, because when we encounter someone, in order to press a criminal charge against them, it's a big hassle, it's lots of paperwork, you got to go to court for a very specific reason. Like, judges don't want frivolous cases in court, they want very, very serious cases in court. So for most of the time, they don't press charges against you because it's a hassle for them to press it criminally, and they don't get any economic benefit from doing that. But they're saying, okay, it shouldn't be criminalized, we want to be able to give tickets and fines. And with carding and racial profiling, we know that it's going to be enforced with bias and with prejudice. So the chiefs of police are like, hey, look, give us some money so we can just give people tickets. And half of it's going to be bogus and a bunch of it won't get paid. So, they're trying to change their tune but maintain the guise that there's something wrong with marijuana. And they're saying it's dangerous and harmful and, well, it's not criminal, but we should still give a ticket. So even they're kind of changing their tune and trying to adapt to the fact that 2 out of 3 Canadians between 18 and 40 will use marijuana once a month at least.
So I wonder, people who see marijuana party on the ballot might think it's a very you're a very single issue party and candidate. How do you respond to that comment or criticism?
Well, they might think that it's a single issue party, but this issue actually touches on so many other issues. That's the first thing. So it touches on the criminal justice system, it touches on the healthcare system, it touches on the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's an example of how the government doesn't listen to science and is muzzling scientists, ignores peer reviews and studies and published stuff from Canadian universities. I myself as a candidate, this is my 5th time running, and in the past I've gone to a lot of debates, I've done a lot of interviews, and I try to bring up other issues. Like, basically for me, the 2 main things that I would talk about now are, number 1, marijuana, and number 2, our foreign policy. Canada's foreign policy sucks. In 2011, every member of parliament, minus Elizabeth May, voted yes to the war in Libya. They didn't bomb us, they didn't attack us, they didn't shoot down a plane, they didn't sink a boat, they didn't bomb an embassy, they didn't kidnap our citizens, they didn't declare war against us. But we used our money, our tax dollars, to plan and orchestrate an aggressive war against a country based on recommendations from the United States Congress, and then they all said yes. So, like, I'm completely morally opposed to that. So I say, don't vote for any liberal, don't vote for any conservative, don't vote for any NDP based on that and that alone. They're a pro-war organization. I'm an anti-war individual. I'm a pro-peace person. I will never say yes for that. Never. It's wrong. You're killing people, destroying infrastructure, destroying entire countries, and then there's refugees coming over here. Where are the refugees coming from? From the war that we participated in. So, foreign policy sucks. And, you know, like, everybody is aware of how bad things are. Everybody has very strong opinions. Twitter goes crazy. The internet is alive. So I think the public are finally starting to do what I did years and years and years ago, which is just stand up and voice your discontent. Stand up and voice your disgust. Point to a particular issue and say, this is wrong. You need to fix it. And year after year after year in elections, they make promises, but they don't deliver. And the reason why there's a voter crisis, a huge amount of people refuse to vote, is because that's their form of protest. My form of protest is to run against them for the marijuana party. I can say and do whatever I want, and at the end of the day, I vote for myself. That's my big protest to them.
Yeah.
And that vote counts. Every vote counts. So for the people that can't run in a party and run as a candidate, they know how valuable their vote is. More people don't vote than do vote.
I'm wondering, I believe under the marijuana party, aside from the issue of marijuana, the candidates are free to take whatever position they want on other issues. Are there any, you mentioned war there, are there any other issues that you have, you've got a stance on that you would want to put out there for this election?
Well, with when you end marijuana prohibition and you reallocate that $7 billion, plus you're going to bring in $1 billion per year on tax revenue. So in the first year, that's $8 billion that you can realistically budget for healthcare and education, housing for the poor, simple basic things, you know, like get our First Nations people up to international world standards in terms of their living conditions. Instead of violating their human rights, we should be developing infrastructure that elevates their human status. And that doesn't cost that much money. You know, like, when you have, what would you do with $8 billion? You know what I mean? Like, I'd try to help as many people as I could. I'd put people to work. I'd do research into solar panels and windmills, put the engineers to work, all the car factories that are closing. Like, you could revamp them and you could grow marijuana. That's easy. But you could revamp them and make solar panels and windmills. You could make cars that run properly as opposed to Volkswagen that did a crappy job. Like $8 billion every year on a failed policy that doesn't work and people don't want and science is against it. Like, what else would you do?
A lot.
You could do a lot of good, you know? Like, you could feed every high school kid in the country lunch every day. Like, that's a small thing, but that makes a huge difference. Other countries do it. And then, Stephen Harper and Justin Trudeau and Thomas Mulcair, we need to kickstart the economy. Well, we need to do something with the economy. Well, we need to infuse a bunch of cash into the economy. $8 billion isn't enough? That's more than foreign aid. Foreign aid is $5 billion. It's crazy.
I'm also wondering, say in the chance that the Marijuana Party won a seat, yours or another one,
yeah.
What politically could you do with that, or would you do with that?
Well, I guess politically you'd kind of be an outlier, but then it means that you're kind of a free agent, and basically you could try to leverage your one vote against your opposition. So I'd have to sit down with Stephen Harper and say, okay, you need a policy, let me help you write it. You need to do some research because you don't know what you're talking about. Your information is incorrect. You don't have data and facts and evidence to support your kind of like old stock reefer madness kind of position on marijuana. And it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. That's what you're acting on. And that's what you said. So we need to educate you and show you that you're wrong. Your health minister got to go. And we need to have a realistic marijuana policy written that even you won't argue with. And until that happens, until you start that process, I'm going to vote no against everything that you say and everything that you put out there. And even before that process begins, we have to let people out of jail. Because there's people in jail for non-violent marijuana offenses, plant-growing offenses, even if they're under house arrest. They need to be released. Their criminal record needs to be expunged so they can go to the States and back, just like Justin Trudeau, right? He was able to go to the States and come back. He said that he used weed. He didn't lose his job. He didn't get arrested, etc., etc. So no Canadian citizen deserves any less consideration. So those are the things that need to be put in place, and until they actually start to do it, then I'm not going to believe that they're serious about changing the law. They talk about it, they dangle the little carrot in front of the horse, but they don't actually ever deliver on it. And this is my 5th election since 2004. And then if you go into the past, like Jean Chrétien promised to legalize it, John Turner promised to legalize it, and Alan Rock said some nice things, and Jack Layton said some nice things, but they never did it. So that's what I want people to know when they go in to vote for me, is that, I am Morpheus in the Matrix. The Matrix is real. This is a red pill for you. You will never be asleep ever again. You will never be intimidated by the system, cops and lawyers and politicians. You won't be afraid of them, and you will know that you can think for yourself, and you can operate in the Matrix, and you can change the system. You can.
And the last question, I'm asking this to every candidate from one of the smaller parties, and it's not meant facetiously, but small parties get a relatively small number of votes is the argument that they're taking away from more established ones who have a better chance of winning, which is a voting system thing. So why run at all?
I don't know who votes for me. I don't know every single vote. The majority of people that vote for me have never, ever voted before in their life. People are afraid of voting. There is a voting phobia out there. They're like, well, if I vote NDP, then the Conservatives will know, and then they'll start tapping my phone. I'm like, your phone's already tapped, so don't worry about it. People that vote for me are brand new voters. I cultivate new votes. I don't steal votes from other people. They've stolen our platform, they've stolen our policy, they've stolen our talking points, but they don't back it up, right? So the majority of people that vote for me are people that I know, my friends, people that have never, ever, ever voted before. But then there is a dedicated group of voters who are casualties of the war on marijuana, people that have been busted, gone to jail, been beat by the police, people who have had their kids taken away. I've met people who were taken away as children because their parents were growing weed in the backyard, and they were taken away when they were 5 or 6, and they never got to see their parents again until they were 18 years old. Those people, they're always going to vote against the establishment and the status quo. And when you meet enough of those people, when you meet cancer survivors, and you meet people with licenses, and you meet people that really, really need it as medicine, those people are always going to vote. So it's a very small percentage of people that vote for me based on real issues, based on protest issues, but at least they go through the system and they get to express themselves and they get to vote. When you spoil a ballot, it doesn't count. When you vote for a smaller party, it really makes a difference.
So I guess your answer to why run is to represent those people, or offer an alternative to them?
To represent those people that I've spoken about that have met me and supported me and encouraged me throughout the years, but also to give everybody else an opportunity to, do something that really matters. And when when you vote for them, I could tell you some stories, but when you vote for, especially the marijuana party, like, it pisses off the conservatives so much that that's valuable and that's worth it. And that fills my heart with joy to know that conservatives genuinely get angry and upset and concerned and worried that, oh man, that's 2% of the popular vote and the liberals and the NDP are jockeying for that too. And it's like, think about marijuana, think about war, and vote your conscience. And until you exclude all of those pro-war parties, you're not going to have any change. So you should vote for the Green Party and down if you want change. You got to vote for the independent that you never heard of. You got to vote for the marijuana party guy that you know nothing about. That's how you get real change. Because if you vote for the same corporations and businesses and the same teams with the same colors year after year after year, you're going to get the same thing. They're all pretty much the same right now. And it's very, very clear. It's abundantly clear.
And I think that's all I wanted to ask. So thanks for speaking with me today, John.
Thank you very much, Tim. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, that was good.
That was awesome, dude.
No, thanks for taking
blah,
the
blah,
time.
blah, blah, blah. I could talk all day.
I found that with most candidates.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Professional talk.